So why would a woman's blood work look completely beautiful and then like 5 months later look completely different and look as though that maybe she's even pre-diabetic? Maybe it's perimenopause, maybe there's extra stress. Actually, maybe it was from 3 generations ago. So Ashley came to me a number of years ago because she was having issues with headaches and PMS and having a hard time with sleep, and then also having issues with her weight. And so again, it might look very hormonal, right? It might look like perimenopause, but actually she was well before age like 38. So Ashley actually, in her background, had adverse childhood experiences. And as you guys may already know, adverse childhood experiences have a lot to do with the way in which our body sees the world, whether it sees it as a scary place or if it sees it as a place that is safe. And so for Ashley, growing up, she was in a household where her dad was very dictatorial, very controlling. Women and children were not to speak unless they were spoken to. And there were a lot of undertones of just not feeling safe. Also, her family history included a lot of cancer, actually. And they also had mental health illness, if that's what we're calling it these days. So anxiety, depression, and also bipolar was in the family. And so you can see that there was sort of this vulnerability that was lurking, whether you think about the adverse childhood experiences and how she grew up in a lot of suppression, and then also with cancer. And if you think about what cancer is, that's also a lot of suppression where the immune system is not engaging appropriately. So this is the message that was out there for some time in the background. So shortly after she got married, she was pregnant, and unfortunately she had a miscarriage. And at that point, she shared with me, I never felt the same. And whenever you hear someone say, I never felt the same, this is where we know that something significant has changed in the body. This is where vulnerability can set into the system, including the endocrine system. And see, this is where there can be these epigenetic changes where basically now disease can start unfolding. So we think about in the background, again, hit 1, the vulnerability that she grew up in and also the family history, right? And then hit 2 as that miscarriage because she never felt the same. Ashley did end up having a family, and she did get pregnant, and she had a child who had autism. The stress of that was quite high. And one thing that I want to point out is that autism can be seen as a lineage imprint. And we see that in the research. And so again, thinking about another generation, right? Because the endocrine system houses the next generation. And then on top of that, she was diagnosed with melanoma. And again, we talked about the history of cancer for her in the family. So again, we know that something is expressing. In the background, we had hit number 1 and number 2, right? And then a little bit of stress maybe in the family, but then the kicker happened. And the kicker was that her in-laws and she were not getting along. And unfortunately, there were hurt feelings. There was what was feeling like she was being treated unkind, it was not kind. And they were spreading rumors about her, and it was devastating to her. And that was hit 3. And that is when we started seeing everything changed. So from early in the spring, her labs were gorgeous and beautiful, and by the fall, they were completely different, where her insulin was off, and also her hemoglobin A1C and her glucose and her weight had changed, and then she was having all these other symptoms. So here's why I wrote about Ashley's story, is that I want other people to know that it may not just be that one time that's happening, that it could go generations back, but I also wanted you to know that Ashley healed herself. And I want you to know that you can also heal yourself. The endocrine system isn't just running our bodies from day to day, it is housing the next generation. And so it's really important to know that, again, just like Ashley healed, you can also heal yourself. So if you want to check out more about Ashley's story and how she was able to move through the traumas that she had had and actually move into a more state of balance, please check out her story. You can check it out in Unwinding the Imprints of Disease.